small anecdote, really. I met somebody who'd studied here in London, who's Libyan, and who came on a government grant, and was returning to Libya. This is just before the war, and I said, well, why are you returning there? It seems that from the Western media that, you know, Libya is awful. She goes, well, of course we moan about Gaddafi. Gaddafi is a bit like an uncle. We always moan about a relative, but deep down, our quality of life is incredible. I have a guaranteed job when I got home. I'll be having a flat. I'll be having a car. I'll be able to do whatever I want, and my quality of life will be far superior to the one most of you here in Europe have. So this was really very insightful into what really goes on in Libya and how Libyans really do live. Our final speaker is a dear brother who I believe, like myself, probably lost many friends when he vocally opposed the onslaught on NATO, and who was one of the very, very few voices to come out in absolute condemnation of this attack, who he knew was going to lead to this chaos. He's been active in so many areas, and he continues to act and work hard to stop all these imperialist projects that are ongoing, that continue to destroy many parts of our part of the world, which is the global south. And I really don't know how to describe it other than a dear brother who works tirelessly. He is, of course, the co-ordinator of the Tricontinental platform. He reported numerous times he was in Libya at the time, and he reported from there many times. Please, ladies and gentlemen, Sukant Chandan.
Thanks to the Tricontinental comrades, Carlos Martinez and Hafsa Karosli, our respected chair today, and also, of course, our special guests who have come from abroad in person in the form of Dr. Darwish himself, and also virtually with our dear comrade Dr. Musa Ibrahim as well. It's a real honor to be here, and it's a small pinch at the nose of our enemy to be having this event here in the heart of those who conspired to destroy Libya, that facilitated then to destroy Mali and Syria, attempt at which Algeria, which thank God to the Algerian people, failed. So really, we will continue in the Tricontinental. And Hafsa, those friends were never friends, because when the chips are down, when you're going through the harshest time in struggle, then your true friends expose themselves, and your actual enemies, who pretended to be your friends, who I call, somewhat infamously from those who know me, the snakes, fakes, fools, and tools around us were exposed. And as Mao Zedong said, sometimes the worst things happen to you in life is sometimes the best things, because it exposes the truth. And the truth that was exposed by Libya is a burning, shining truth that still sears the minds and blinds the eyes of those snakes, fakes, and fools and tools around us. And we will forever be loyal to the Libyan people who are in the trench of resistance and struggle against the alliance of conspirators, of those who human traffic the new Middle Passage, as Brother Lee Jasper says, through the Mediterranean. These gangsters in Libya and outside, who teamed up with the biggest gangsters in the world, in London, Paris, and Washington, who destroyed with all its faults the greatest nation on the African continent, and perhaps the greatest nation across the global south itself. I want to spend just a few minutes talking about what both Dr. Darwish and Dr. Ibrahim have touched upon, is the persecution and the massacres that took place in Libya, which were at one time whitewashed and erased and redacted from Western media and the allied media. And on the other hand, these crimes and this persecution was given cover by the lies that our former speakers have talked about, particularly the lie of the African mercenary. And really, again, what Libya shows is the truth of what's going on. It exposes the actuality of what the decolonial scholars call the colonial matrix of power, be it on the issue of gender and women's rights, be it on the issue of white supremacy and racism, be it on all these fronts. This was a traumatic and ongoing traumatic episode that has visited, tragically, the great heroic Libyan people who defeated the Italian colonialists and who, as Dr. Ibrahim said, have assisted every single anti-colonial, anti-imperialist struggle across the African continent, the Asian continent, and the so-called Latin American continent as well. That's why revenge was always on the agenda with Muammar Gaddafi and the Jamahiriya. We have lots of differences, but the enemy sees things much clearer than ourselves often. And it's only when you lose someone that you really realize what you've lost. Now, I was in Libya 3 times during 2011. But before that, one of the most notorious acts of these so-called revolutionaries. I'm glad you find this very funny, brother. One of probably your great allies and your brothers and your friends amongst the revolutionaries in Benghazi, one of the greatest acts they conducted to initiate their revolution was what? The direct lynching of dark-skinned Libyans. They were so proud of themselves, and obviously you still are very proud of that, but they were so proud of themselves, they uploaded onto YouTube and they showed the world that hundreds of people were standing in squares in Benghazi and watching and cheering on literally, it's still on YouTube, literally the chopping up of a black brother with a knife, stringing him up half naked, and everyone in this orgy of absolutely lost their minds, which defined the nature of this fake rebellion, fake revolution, i.e. NATO's project in Libya. So some of us also were very alarmed by this. And at the same time, the fake NGO human rights organizations and the Western media and Al Jazeera were promoting the African mercenary story as a direct cover to these crimes. So there you have it. In 21st century, on the edge of South Europe, you have the facilitated mass persecution and mass lynching of black people being justified by people who are going about Black History Month and Martin Luther King and Barack Obama that and all this type of nonsense, right? And Obama was used and abused, and he's allowed himself to be used by the White House to again perform cover against what Muammar Gaddafi called Africa's son. That's Obama. And what a sellout he's been as a son of Africa in that regard. So when I went there, I met the families of the people impacted. The families who lost their sons, their grandsons, etc. in the Libyan army, and those who were persecuted out of Tawarga and many other parts of Libya who sought refuge in Tripoli. I went to the refugee camps. I went to one hotel owner who turned his hotel into a refugee camp from these people. They showed me the pictures of their loved ones who were lynched and killed. So this was all going on, but no one wanted to listen to us. No one wanted to hear this throughout that whole horrible year of 2011, right? I was in the Rixos Hotel where Dr. Ibrahim did his very articulate and excellent media representation during that time. I went on a fact-finding mission, and we had a press conference with every representative of the major media organizations of the West and their allies. So we said there's been no bombing from the air in Tajura, in Suk Juma, and the third place, I forget where they claimed that. Sorry? Fashlum, exactly. And I reported on Russia Today when I came back, and you probably remember that. They were denying this. They were being the usual disgusting, the type of people that these, and I'm not justifying in any way, I hate the people who conducted the massacre against Charlie Hebdo headquarters, but really it was a type of attitude, that neo-colonial conceit and arrogance that you have of those people who have insulted the religion of Islam through those cartoons. They basically bullied us at the press conference. I got up and I challenged them. I said, instead of bullying us and hiding behind the biggest killing machine ever known to humanity, that's NATO, that's destroying this small populated North African state, why don't you use your media skills to investigate the African mercenary story, and the lynching of blacks in Libya that you all know that's going on, and you're all not reporting. I know it was that there was the Guardian journalist there, someone from Channel 4 News was there, someone from CNN was there, Sky and BBC. They were all there. I said, why don't you report on that? Why don't you report on what the hell were the great heroes of revolutionaries, the British SAS, doing in Benghazi on the first week of the Benghazi rebellion? Why haven't you reported any of this? And they had nothing to say, literally. You know, they had nothing to say, and the leaders of the Libyan tribes who were there were obviously very happy that someone verbally slapped them back. And then from then on they called me the machine gun, because I could deal with these people very competently and easily, because they're just liars. And they're liars of the worst sort. And their lies only really have any kind of effect because we believe them. And like Dr. Ibrahim said, using the Fanonite analysis of the colonized mind, sometimes our mind is so colonized that we won't listen to our Libyan brothers. We won't listen to our brothers and sisters from the ANC and from other parts of Africa. Museveni, I think, had a very balanced approach to the Libya issue as well in the media. We didn't listen to Louis Farrakhan. We didn't listen to Fidel Castro. We didn't listen to Daniel Ortega. We didn't listen to Hugo Chavez, but we believed every single damn disgusting lie from Al Jazeera, CNN and BBC. There is a lesson to be learned. So fast forward to today, now the town of Tawarga, 40,000 populated hitherto, is no longer. Do you hear about it in the media? Do you hear about the persecution that continues? We had brothers and sisters who very correctly made a campaign against the racist Exhibit B exhibition at the Barbican, right? But we had black Libyan brothers held in the former Libyan zoo. This is on YouTube. They're in the cages in the Libyan zoo. They were made to stuff the Jamaria flag into their mouth, and they were taunted saying, chant like, jump up and down like monkeys. This is the reality that's going on. Yes, we should campaign against an Exhibit B, which is an art exhibit, however disgusting and racist it is, but it's incomparably more important to advocate and lobby and to campaign for the actual people who've been put in zoos, and the metaphorical zoos that they put on, and the people who are continue to be tortured today. The last 2 points. I'm very happy that Dr. Musa Ibrahim mentioned Hakim Belhaj, because Libya proved everything is on its head. The revolutionaries become the tyrants, and the tyrants and the terrorists become revolutionaries. Hakim Belhaj, today in this country, is treated as a human rights case. That's a fact. His comrade in arms went to hug him, that's Muazzam Beg. He went to go meet Hakim Belhaj on the ashes of the Libyan state in Tripoli. And then Muazzam Beg, who's another human rights symbol in our country, he has a meeting with MI5 who tick off his openly avowed, self-proclaimed work in developing an armed movement against the Syrian government twice to Aleppo, illegally. So here in our country, do we talk about the victims? Do we talk about the Tawargans? Do we talk about the lighter skinned Libyans who are targeted as well? Because as the radical anti-racist critic and intellectual, the late Stuart Hall said, the concept of racism is a floating signifier. It doesn't just mean the pigmentation of your skin. Today the people of East Ukraine are outside of whiteness. They're outside of so-called European democracy. And here you have Dr. Ibrahim, you have Dr. Darbash, and I know other Libyans who look like Scandinavians. But they're all treated the same as the black Libyans are treated as well. So I finish off by urging and pleading to join into campaigns for justice, which we can facilitate. Brothers are here from Libya, whose family members and comrades and brothers and sisters are going through this hell right now. They need your support. Stop supporting the lynchers of our brothers and sisters in Libya and Syria and elsewhere, and support the resistant victims. And to finish off, I think in discussion with Hafsa in the Tricontinental, we will have another meeting in Parliament later this year, where we are going to emphasize the human story of what's happened to Libyans, to talk to those surviving family members. I know I did some work with respected brother Khaled Khweldi, who lost his wife and several of his children in a NATO bomb attack against his farmhouse in 2011. And he is just one more prominent example of what's happened to thousands and thousands of other Libyans. And I know we have a brother here whose brother in Italy, a Libyan, who's been criminalized as well, and he deserves a justice campaign. We really need to team together, to work together in really delivering this. Libya and the resistant Libyan people are not going away, despite however many lies and whatever project of lies and deceit is projected onto them by the enemies, not only of the Libyans and the global south. No, the true friends of the Libyan people and the resistant Libyan people will lead the struggle to justice until we have a just and liberated Libya that returns.